When she's surrounded by men, desire doesn't go to the loudest. It goes to the one who creates distance, silence, and a feeling she can't replace. You don't chase her attention. You become the absence she keeps thinking about. In the gilded halls of Renaissance courts, power was never simply inherited. It was seduced, whispered into being, drawn from the shadows of candlelit chambers. Where noble men believed themselves masters of their domains, clever women understood a deeper truth about the nature of influence. The courtly dance of seduction began not with touch, but with the careful placement of attention. A glance held a fraction too long. She understood that the most powerful weapon in her arsenal was not beauty alone. It was the strategic withdrawal of her presence. When rival suitors filled the court, she would acknowledge them with measured politeness. But her true attention was a gift reserved for one alone. The whispered word carries more weight than any proclamation shouted from castle towers. Secrets create bonds stronger than any oath. She would lean close, her breath warm against his ear, sharing words meant only for him. In that moment, the entire court ceased to exist. The art of lingering eye contact was practiced like any other courtly skill. To hold a gaze was to hold attention captive. She never looked away first. That subtle dominance, invisible to others, established who truly held control in their unspoken arrangement. Touch in the Renaissance court was forbidden fruit. A hand accidentally brushed against another carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken promises. When she allowed her fingers to graze his wrist, it was calculated precision. Each touch a reward for his devoted attention. The rival lords who sought her favor grew frustrated by her indifference. She smiled at their gifts but reserved her warmth for her chosen one. One by one, the other suitors withdrew, not through confrontation, but through the quiet devastation of being overlooked. She created a world where only he existed in her luminous attention. All others faded into the shadows of irrelevance. The tension between proximity and propriety was the cord upon which desire was strung. Close enough to feel warmth, too far to truly touch. In public gatherings, they maintained perfect decorum. But beneath silk tablecloths, hidden touches spoke volumes no words could convey. She understood that anticipation was more intoxicating than fulfillment, the promise of what might be held greater power than reality itself. When she finally agreed to walk with him through the palace gardens, it was as if the heavens had granted him audience with a goddess. Away from watchful eyes, their conversation deepened. She revealed carefully selected vulnerabilities, drawing him deeper into her confidence. Each secret shared was a thread binding him closer. He believed he was earning her trust, unaware she was constructing invisible chains. The power of soft words spoken in darkness should never be underestimated. They plant seeds that grow in the fertile soil of imagination. He began to see the world through her eyes. Her opinions became his certainties, her desires his urgent priorities. When she expressed displeasure at a rival lord's comments, that lord found himself mysteriously excluded from the nobleman's favor. She wielded his influence as an extension of her own will. The court whispered about his sudden changes in allegiance, never suspecting the true source. The intimacy they cultivated in private moments became his addiction. He craved her presence like a man dying of thirst craves water. When she withdrew her attention, even briefly, he would move mountains to restore it. Her absence was a torture more effective than any dungeon. She orchestrated moments of jealousy with surgical precision. A lingering smile at another lord reminded him that her favor was never guaranteed. These calculated provocations kept him perpetually off balance, forever striving to secure what he could never fully possess. The beauty of her strategy lay in its invisibility. He believed every emotion, every decision, originated from his own heart. True influence leaves no fingerprints. The master seducer shapes reality while remaining invisible, letting others believe they act of their own accord. In the candlelit chambers of power, they would meet in secret. Away from prying eyes, masks could finally be set aside. But even in privacy, she maintained elements of mystery. Complete revelation would diminish her power. Shadows preserved her allure. She taught him to see the world as a chessboard, where every person served a purpose and every interaction held strategic value. Together, they became formidable. His position provided power, her intelligence provided direction. The court trembled at their unspoken alliance. The rivals who once competed for her attention now competed for the couple's combined favor. The transformation was complete. Yet she never grew complacent. The same arts that bound him could be turned by another. Vigilance was eternal. She continued to surprise him, revealing new facets of her character like precious gems drawn from an endless treasury. Unpredictability was her constant companion. Just when he thought he understood her, she would reveal an unexpected depth. The dance of seduction never truly ends. It evolves, deepens, becomes more intricate with each passing season. She knew that comfort breeds complacency, and complacency kills desire. So she kept the flames of tension perpetually burning. Small disagreements were allowed to flourish, then resolved with passionate reconciliation. The cycle kept their bond electric. The letters they exchanged when apart were works of art, each word chosen to inflame imagination and deepen longing. She wrote not what she felt, but what would make him feel. Every sentence was a carefully crafted arrow aimed at his heart. Physical presence was just one instrument in her orchestra of influence. Memory and anticipation played equally powerful notes. When she granted him the privilege of her complete attention, time itself seemed to stop. The world narrowed to just the two of them. Her eyes held his with an intensity that made speech unnecessary. In silence, they communicated volumes that words could never capture. The subtle language of their bodies spoke in codes only they understood. A raised eyebrow, a slight nod, conveyed entire strategies. Years passed, but the fundamental dynamic remained. She was the sculptor, he the willing marble, shaped by hands that felt like caresses. His transformation was so gradual he never noticed. The man he became bore little resemblance to the one who first caught her eye. But this was not destruction. It was elevation. She had seen his potential and spent years bringing it into being. The greatest seduction is not the conquest of another person. It is the revelation of who they could become under the right influence. She asked nothing he was not already willing to give. Her skill lay in making him want to give more than he ever imagined. Their private moments grew more precious as public responsibilities demanded more of their time. Stolen hours became sacred rituals. She would appear unexpectedly in his study, a reminder that no matter how great his burdens, she remained his true north. These small invasions of his solitude were calculated kindnesses. She reminded him that connection mattered more than conquest. In turn, he learned to read her subtle cues. When the court became too demanding, he would whisk her away to their private sanctuary. The balance between them had shifted over time. What began as her orchestration evolved into genuine partnership. Yet she never forgot the arts that had brought them together. Mystery remained her ally, even as intimacy deepened. The courtiers who had once dismissed her as merely beautiful now recognized a formidable mind behind those captivating eyes. Her reputation had transformed from object of desire to force of nature. She had seduced not just a man, but an entire court. Young women watched her movements, hoping to learn her secrets. But true seduction cannot be taught. It must be understood. The art lies not in the techniques themselves, but in reading the individual soul before you. Every target requires different keys. She had studied him for months before their first meaningful exchange, knowing his fears, his dreams, his unspoken hungers. That preparation made everything that followed feel natural. He never suspected the depth of planning behind their chance encounters. Seduction is architecture. The seducer must construct an experience, building toward revelations that transform understanding itself. Each interaction added a stone to the edifice of their connection. Years later, they inhabited a palace of shared memory. The physical dimension of their bond remained powerful. Even after years, her touch could awaken responses that defied reason. She maintained her body as an instrument of influence, not through vanity, but through understanding that presence requires investment. Her wardrobe was a calculated weapon. Colors chosen for emotional impact, fabrics that invited touch, silhouettes that commanded attention. On nights when they entertained, she would emerge like a vision. The court would fall silent, and he would remember why she owned his heart. These public displays served multiple purposes. They reminded rivals of her position while rekindling flame within her chosen one. The rhythm of seduction echoes the rhythm of seasons. Advance and retreat, warmth and coolness, revelation and concealment. She knew when to be fire and when to be ice. Reading his moods, she became whatever he needed while remaining entirely herself. This adaptability was not weakness but supreme strength. The willow survives storms that shatter the rigid oak. Through political upheavals and family tragedies, their bond proved unbreakable. She had built it to withstand any storm. When crisis struck, she became his anchor. The woman who had once been the source of his destabilization now provided his only stability. The transformation was complete. Seduction had evolved into something far more profound. Two lives woven into single tapestry. Children came, carrying features of both into the future. New lives that represented the ultimate fruit of their union. She taught her daughters the arts she had mastered, not as manipulation, but as understanding of human nature's deepest currents. The sons learned different lessons: how to recognize when they were being influenced and when to surrender willingly to love's power. As silver threads appeared in their hair, the fire between them burned no less intensely. Time had refined rather than diminished their bond. She still surprised him. After decades together, he continued to discover new rooms in the palace of her personality. The courtiers who remembered their beginnings marveled at what they had built together. A legacy of influence that would outlive them both. In quiet moments, she would still reach for his hand beneath the table. Small gestures carrying decades of meaning. He had never fully understood how she had captured him, but he had long since ceased to care about the mechanics of his willing imprisonment. For in the end, the greatest seduction is not of body or even mind. It is the seduction of the soul, drawing forth the best in another for all their days.